Okay, so have you ever thought about like the journey a chunk of copper takes, say from a mine in Chile to like becoming part of a smartphone in, I don't know, China?
It's pretty mind-boggling when you actually stop to think about it.
Yeah, and the people who make that happen, who orchestrate that whole global dance, they're the import-export managers,
Mm,
specifically in the metals and ores world, and that's what we're diving into today.
right on.
We've got RoleCatcher's insights to guide us, their career guide, interview advice, even how they stack up against other job platforms. And what I really dig about RoleCatcher's approach is they don't just tell you what an import-export manager does. It's more about like the why, the how, you really get a feel for it.
I see what you mean. It's definitely a role that's become more and more essential as our economies become so globally interconnected. These raw materials, the metals, the ores, they're the backbone of so many industries, right? Construction, tech, manufacturing, and making sure they flow smoothly between countries, that's no easy task.
Totally. And this guide, it doesn't shy away from the tougher stuff either, like the challenges that come with this career path, maybe even some downsides.
Yeah.
They're aiming to give you the full picture, 360 degrees, so you can figure out if this kind of metal is your jam.
And what I find interesting is how the guide emphasizes both hard skills and soft skills. It's not just about knowing the ins and outs of logistics and regulations. It's also about being a skilled negotiator, being culturally sensitive, even being able to handle those really high-pressure situations. You need it all.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I'm already getting the sense that this is not your average desk job. So let's dive into it. What does a typical day actually look like for someone in this role? An import-export manager in the metals and ores world.
Well, first of all, ditch that image of someone stuck behind a desk, just pushing paper.
Yeah, this has got to be more dynamic than that.
Way more, yeah.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher uses some pretty vivid language in this guide. They talk about, like, ensuring seamless cross-border transactions and navigating the complexities of international trade.
Okay, so less about the paperwork, more about being this, like, strategic conductor of the whole supply chain.
You got it. Imagine, let's say, a massive shipment of iron ore going from, oh, I don't know, Brazil to a steel mill somewhere in Germany.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The import-export manager, they're the ones making sure that shipment meets every single regulation, sails through customs without a hitch, and arrives right on schedule so those production lines don't miss a beat.
And that's just one shipment, right? I can only imagine
Wow.
they're juggling, multiple projects, deadlines, probably like a million things going on at once.
You're not wrong. The guide actually gives an example of a successful import-export manager, someone who's really thriving in this role. They describe them as having, like a passion for international business, but also meticulous attention to detail. So it's that balance, right?
It's like they have to see the big picture, the global scale, but also be laser focused on the tiniest details.
Absolutely. And not only that, they got to be able to roll with the punches. The guide talks about managing stressful situations, and I think that's a huge part of it. Like, picture this. A volcano erupts, and suddenly air freight routes are a mess. Or there's some political upheaval that throws a wrench in your perfectly planned trade agreement.
Oh, wow. So it's like high-stakes logistical Tetris almost?
You could say that. And the guide doesn't try to downplay that stuff. Those challenges are real. But for people who really get a thrill out of that fast-paced, demanding environment, this career, it offers something pretty unique. The chance to have a very real, very tangible impact on how the global economy functions.
Okay, so speaking of opportunities, the guide also gets into what it takes to actually break into this field. And I'm guessing it's not as simple as, oh, I have a business degree, I'm good to go.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely not as easy as that, though a business degree doesn't hurt, I'm sure.
It's a good foundation, but
Yeah.
experience is key in this field, especially hands-on experience and RoleCatcher. They're big on internships.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Got to get your hands dirty, so to speak.
Exactly. It's not about fetching coffee. It's about diving headfirst into the world of international trade.
Learning the ropes.
Yeah, think of it as your, like, trading floor boot camp.
I like that trading floor boot camp.
You're thrown into the thick of it, learning to navigate customs regulations, negotiating with suppliers, troubleshooting all those logistical nightmares we talked about.
Right, proving you can handle the pressure, not just like ace a multiple choice test on tariffs or something.
Exactly. And once you've got some experience under your belt, RoleCatcher suggests building a portfolio.
Oh, interesting. So not just listing skills on a resume, but showing concrete examples of what you've actually accomplished.
Right. Like, did you negotiate a tricky shipment, navigate a sudden regulation change? Those are the stories that make you stand out.
Show, don't tell. I love it.
And on that note, the guide also mentions certifications.
Right, I was just going to bring those up, like the CITP and CSCP,
Yeah, those are big ones.
Certified International Trade Professional and Certified Supply Chain Professional, for anyone who's curious.
And they're not just pieces of paper. Those certifications really mean something in this industry.
Yeah, it's a signal to employers that you're serious, that you've got the knowledge and the skills to back it up.
Exactly. It shows you're committed to this field and that you're staying up to date, which is huge because things change so fast in the world of international trade.
Okay, so let's say you've got the experience, the certifications, you're ready to land that dream job. What about the interview process?
RoleCatcher gives some pretty intense sample questions, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, they don't go easy on you.
One that really stood out to me was, how do you ensure import-export transactions comply with both quality standards and safety regulations?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because those two things, quality and safety, they're not always perfectly aligned, are they?
Right, and it's not enough to just know the rules. You have to be able to apply them in those real-world situations where things get messy, where there might be conflicting priorities. Exactly, and I think that question really gets at that. Like, how do you think on your feet? How do you balance those competing demands? How do you find solutions when things get tough?
And that's where preparation is key. And you know what, RoleCatcher? They even offer this really cool AI-powered interview prep tool.
Oh, wow, no way.
Yeah, you can practice answering these kinds of tough questions and get personalized feedback, which is amazing.
That's so smart. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
Right, and it shows how much the job market is evolving, and this career path, import-export management, it's a prime example.
Because, like we've been saying, it's not a static field. There are always new challenges, new regulations, new disruptions to navigate.
Exactly. Adaptability is key. And if you can show potential employers that you're not just adaptable, but you actually thrive in that kind of environment, that's huge.
Okay, so to wrap things up, for our listeners out there who are intrigued by this career path, import-export management in the metals and ores industry, what's the one thing, the biggest takeaway you want them to remember from today's deep dive?
I think it's this. This isn't just a job. It's a chance to be a part of something much bigger, something that truly impacts the world. You're not just moving products from point A to point B. You're playing a vital role in how our global economy functions. And that's incredibly challenging, incredibly demanding, but also incredibly rewarding, you know?
It's like you're connecting the dots on a global scale.
Exactly. And for the right person, that's incredibly exciting.
I love that. Connecting the dots on a global scale. That's a perfect note to end on. Huge thanks to RoleCatcher for their insights and to everyone listening. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.